And I really think that this is the easiest one to change, and that is your physical presence. Like literally just how you stand, how you tie your belt, how you make your dobok or uniform or gi presentable. Like what you wear, how you dress, I'm not saying you have to have the nicest clothes or something like that, but like crying out loud, like, compose yourself, stand tall, be proud. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Mat. My name is Josh Dumoulin, and this is
Nicole Stratichuk.
All right, and today we are talking all about not being a punching bag. Every Sunday we've been coming in lately and training as a family, right? Like we come in, we wake up, we have breakfast, and then we come into the school here, and it's just the four of us. Rocky, Ryder, you, me, and we come in and spar, and we do some patterns, and we just train together. And one, it's a great opportunity for Ryder just to do some extra practice, but also two, it's a great bonding experience as a family. Like we don't just, talk about, you should practice, but we come in and do it together. So that way we all get together, we all just kind of, sweat together, we all kind of laugh together.
Yeah, and we're usually playing some sort of tag game, and it's just, the boys just have so much fun doing that. And it's really great thing that we take that time and do that because it's fun, and plus we're getting some extra practice for Ryder with upcoming nationals. So
that's right. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, like just being able to come in and do that, and you don't have to have a taekwondo school to kind of train with your kids or anything like that. Like, I mean, we didn't have that when I was growing up, but my dad and I would train and practice together. So like there was opportunities like that for you guys to work out together.
Right. Yeah. And it's just making that time for our family to just be the four of us and just have fun together and do something physically active together. Mm-hmm. So really just helping instill some of those values into our boys. So
that's right. And it's like, even with Rocky, who's only 4, we don't expect him to be, in there throwing down, and even Ryder. I mean, he's 9 years old. He come in and just do the best he can. And like I said, it's more about this family time that we get to spend together than anything. But the one thing that came up, I don't know if it was last Sunday or the Sunday before, or Sunday before provincials. I think it was Sunday before provincials. We were in training, and I mean, listen, me sparring against my 9-year-old son, it's not the same competition he's going to have. But that particular day, he was he was timid. He just kept moving away. He kept moving away when he was sparring you. Like, he wouldn't do much. He was, like I said, he was a little bit, that particular day, just really, really moving away. Didn't put a lot in there.
Yeah, and like shying away from the action, right? And just retreating a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's
closing his eyes, turning his head, just like, trying to punch and look the other way and not really see where he's going, and, being a mile away from his opponent trying to throw a punch.
Yeah, and it's not usual for him to do that. Usually he's like really go-getter in there. And I know we had talked about, you're in different places in your learning curve, so maybe that has something to do with it for him. But yeah, it was just kind of unusual. But not only Ryder, we also see this in other students in our classes. So yeah, it was just something that we wanted to talk about today, was this: don't be the punching bag. Don't let anyone treat you like a punching bag. You deserve to be in that ring. You deserve the opportunity, and make the most of it. And so we were talking about this, like kind of flipping that switch in your mind, right? Getting your mindset right before you get into the ring, and just not letting anyone treat you like a punching bag.
Well, that's just it. And so we had to just kind of sit down and look at him and say, dude, don't, like, yeah, I'm bigger than you. Like, mm-hmm. that, you're not going to necessarily win the match, but don't be my punching bag. Like, don't be the one taking the shots. Like, move around. Like, you have skills that you possess, and trust those skills to help you get through that match and do what you can do. But don't just sit there and take those things. And like you said, when we see other students on the floor, with that same sort of, attitude or whatever, or personality, don't you don't have to be the punching bag. Like, don't be that.
Yeah, and what we are noticing with Ryder is that he gets to this point where, he's either got to rise to the challenge, not being the punching bag, or give up. And we're starting to see him, kind of just give up a little bit in the ring, and that's why this conversation all came to be. But yeah, we just don't want to see that, right? Like it's sad or disappointing, right? And you want the best for our kids and all of our students, and so that's what we're going to talk about, is maybe some tips to help martial artists not be the punching bag in the ring, on the mat.
That's right. Yeah, and it really does come down to your mindset around it, right? Like you kind of said, like flipping that switch. And so when we talked to Ryder about it, he was able to flip that switch come nationals. And of course, when he stepped in the ring with opponents, he was able to say, no, I'm not a punching bag. And he went in and he faced, every bit of adversity and fear around it. But that's right. There's many ways you can go about it, but we kind of narrowed it down to 3 things that we kind of feel will help you not sort of like quote unquote be that punching bag. So that we have three ways that you should consider, or when you're talking to your child, coaching your child, or as a coach coaching your students, whatever situation you're in, or even just for yourself. Like this doesn't even have to just relate to martial arts. This could relate to you in the workplace.
Yes.
This could relate to you at school. This could relate to marriages, like everything. Like they're like, you don't want to be the punching bag. Like honestly, nobody has that respect for you. And
the mindset piece. So the mindset piece, when we, let's say you're a green belt going against a black belt, right? There's this mindset that you need to adopt. So I kind of figure there's 2 separate mindsets you could take. Is that I'm a green belt and I'm going to get my butt kicked. There's that mindset. Or there's I'm a green belt and I can learn a lot from this black belt. Okay, so if we take this growth mindset of I'm a green belt and I get to spar this black belt, I get to learn a lot from that opportunity. And so it's making sure that we go into the match with that mindset in mind. So then we can work on these 3 things these 3 tips that we put together for you today. So just thinking what an opportunity you have to learn, even though your opponent might be more skilled, more experienced, more bigger or higher belts or whatever, just noticing and recognizing that there is such a great opportunity in front of you.
Awesome. So, all right. So moving on to these 3 ways here, let's go into our tip number 1, if you will. And I really think that this is the easiest one to change, and that is your physical presence. Like literally just how you stand, how you tie your belt, how you make your dobok or uniform or gi presentable, like what you wear, how you dress, I'm not saying you have to have the nicest clothes or something like that, but like crying out loud, like compose yourself, stand tall, be proud. So when you're going into the match, like put your shoulders back, put your chin up, like stand tall, be proud. Have your belt tied correctly. It's the first step to, like change sort of that like internal feeling, is just like actually like making sure your physical presence is there.
Right. And when we go into the ring, maybe uniform a mess, shoulders slumped over, hands not really up and like cowered over like this, what does your opponent think? Your opponent just looks at that and says, oh, there's my punching bag, right? So if you're going to start the match with this, then that's not going to get you in the right mental state either. If you come in like this, your body language is signaling to your opponent that you're the punching bag, but it's also signaling to your own brain that you're the punching bag.
Right.
And we can extend this to, the other areas of our life too, right? Like if you're coming into, say, a job interview, right? You go to a job interview and slouched over and, shoulders down, and maybe your outfit doesn't match the appropriateness of the job, right? you're not going to be looked at seriously. So this applies to everything, is just taking note of your physical appearance and how you carry yourself and the body language that you're, expressing to people. And that body language expresses so much more than maybe even what you say. So just really taking note of that.
Yeah. And again, just bringing that like awareness there and having your belt tied, it just adds a level of confidence to you. Seriously, for real. Like if you can get your belt tied correctly in your dobok, like it's like one little thing compiling onto another. Before you know it, you're like, well, my belt is tied on, my dobok's looking clean. I feel a little bit better. Your shoulders start to go back. I feel a little bit better more. My chin starts to go up. You start to be a little bit more proud and have a little bit of self-respect for yourself.
That's right. And wherever you are right now, you could put this into practice right now. Like, just take a good breath in, set your shoulders back and down. Now your chest is proud and bright, right? Like that simple step makes a huge difference in how you feel. So if you did that right now, you would realize that, like, man, I do feel a lot better. Or maybe some of the facial expressions, So if you are focused, or if you're like physically with your face showing nervous, right? That just signals to your brain to do more nervous stuff. So maybe checking in on what your face is doing too. I mean, there's just so many things with that physical presence that signals to your brain that, yeah, you're in it to win it. You are focused. You are ready to go. Whereas if we don't pay attention to the physical presence, right, that's when we see the shoulders slouch. That's where we see the body kind of cave over. And that's where we see them mentally start to break down as well.
Well, okay, so after how many years of running here and all the years, we do a tournament prep class usually 6 to 8 weeks before a tournament, right? Usually it's 6 weeks, sometimes it's 8. And of all of the classes that you've seen me teach, how many, class number 1, the conversation has been around learn how to tie your belt correctly, have your dobok presentable, and look sharp. Like every single one of them, the first class is all about having that belt tied, having your dobok clean.
Absolutely. And I think back to when I was competing, and one of the things that I picked up on quite early was that stage presence, if you will, right? Like the competitors, like when I went to my first world championships, I watched everything. And the ones that were successful and won the gold medals, they weren't standing around the ring like this. They were standing like this, and their eyes were sharp. Everything about them was sharp. And I picked up on that right away. So I just started doing that. I said, if I'm going to be world champion, that's how I need to act. That's how I need to present myself. And I just did it, right? And that body doing those positions and standing tall and having that presence signals to your brain, you mean business, right?
Yep. All right. So physical presence right there. Like that's the easiest one you can go to. Tip number 2, begin to go against more challenging opponents. Like actually face that adversity of going against somebody who's better than you currently right now, and have that, like, you know what, just stay in there. Like being able to stay in there, but like be willing, go against them. Don't hide from them. Like actually put yourself against them. Like purposely, intentionally go to them and say, next round, you and me, like actually take your time out to go and put yourself out there. Again, face that challenge and just begin to develop that confidence of facing a more skilled opponent. And then for that round, it might not be, okay, well, I have to beat this. Again, the goal is to not be the punching bag. So staying in there, like actually staying present in there, trusting your skill, trusting your instinct, trusting your gut, and just going against it.
That's right. Yeah. And for me, I'm pretty fortunate. I have a really awesome training partner. So when we come in for our Sunday trainings, I mean, our first and foremost focus is just making sure that our family has fun. And, Ryder gets some practice sparring and stuff. But we get to take a few rounds together in the ring. And for me, Mr. D or Josh, he is a very challenging partner for me. And just last Sunday, I noticed this in myself is like the first round that we went in, I am nervous. Like, even though I know you're not going to hurt me, I know that, but I get nervous, but I have to flip that switch in my head and I have to say, yes, this is my, opponent that is better than me, that is challenging me in the ring, and I rise up to that. So the first round, I feel it out, and then I'm ready for the second round. Like, I want to go again because I know that you're going to give me a good challenge. You're going to make me better, right? So I myself have to get into that mindset of like, okay, here's a good challenge. I'm going to take advantage of that time and do that. And we see this in our classes too, is that we want, it's these younger belts or younger kids that are trying to get better at sparring, but sometimes you can see they keep picking the younger opponents or they keep picking the younger belts. Well, you're only going to get better if you challenge yourself. And there are so many opponents for you in those classes, so take advantage of the opportunity to spar with them. And the cool thing is you might just surprise yourself. And the worst thing that's going to happen, if you feel like maybe after that match that you didn't win the match, even though we're not really scoring in classes, if you didn't win the match, well, what can you do better next time? Call that same person up. If they beat you in that tournament or in that sparring match, well, call them up again. Ask them to be your partner again so that you can try a new strategy or try something else with them or try working on something else against them to see what else you can learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So, number 3, more practice. Just kind of going with your facing a more challenging opponent, but just getting more practice in, like more and more and more. Get more practice as much as you can. Come to more classes, attend more regular classes, get private lessons. Like private lessons are huge for people. And I don't think people think of having a private lesson with a coach, an instructor, a mentor, as valuable as they should. Like, I mean, having somebody right there one-on-one with you to go through the mindset of your training and your practice and skills and what you specifically need is it can be really, it's more valuable than people give it credit for. Like we have a few of our students that do regular private lessons with us.
Yeah.
Some of it, started off regular, and now they're like, okay, now, like they don't necessarily need to see us regularly, but they do at least 2-3 before a tournament, and sometimes it's skill-based training, like we need to work on this specifically, and sometimes it's getting your mind right, like getting your attitude and your confidence up. So like having a private lesson, like having a one-on-one with an instructor is really valuable. So
yeah, and in those lessons, like you and the coach or the instructor can kind of decide what your goals are together, so that you're not making a goal that maybe doesn't quite make sense or you don't know how to achieve it, right? So with the instructor, you can create these goals of, this is what needs to be worked on first. Let's figure out a plan so that you can do that and reach that goal first, and then work on the next goal and then the next goal and so on. And so that with the instructor is so individualized and just, really valuable. I know even for myself, like if I want to work on a certain thing, I am reaching out for, private lessons and things like that so that I can get the best instruction that I can.
Yeah, that's something that I don't think a lot of times some of these things and lessons are like, sometimes they're things I wish I did.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wish I did, like that's why, like, I feel like able to talk about is like, these are things I wish I did. I did them later and I realize now like how valuable that was. And it's something like it's something that makes me think, well, boy, if I had done that earlier, if I had actually done that, boy, I would be where I am earlier. Like the private lesson thing, a mentor, a coach, like a one-on-one. I had instructors, but I never sometimes I would look at maybe it could have been anything from like the financial investment, like oh I don't need to spend the extra $50, $100, like whatever it was, and trust me, I get it, like there's financial things, but I wish that sometimes I had just said, you know what, I will get a lot of value out of it, like the investment I would get out of having a coach or a mentor regularly for what I needed, whether it was athletically, or again mentally, like my mindset in the ring, or as an entrepreneur. Like actually having a mentor and some guidance to actually kind of not necessarily steer me to the right thing, the right direction, right path, but to avoid the pitfalls.
That's right.
So like that's a big one, is having like doing more one-on-one training.
Going back to just specifically Taekwondo, for me, back when I was younger and training, I was fortunate to have lots of people that were willing to invest their time into helping me train. And so I got to do a lot of sparring with people that were way better than me. And at moments, there was times where I felt like the punching bag. And I knew that's when my mindset was going downwards, right? And I was starting to think like, oh man, I'm just a first-degree black belt and I'm only 14 years old and I suck. That's the mindset of like, man, I'm going into this and I feel like the punching bag. And so when I started to feel those things, it was like I did have to flip the switch, because I knew the only person that could do that was myself. I had to make the decision. I had to flip the switch that, yes, I can go in. I may not be as skilled or as experienced or the same level of black belt that my opponents were, my training partners were, but I went in with the mindset that I'm not there to be their punching bag, and I have such an opportunity to learn and gain experience from these people. So having that ability to recognize that I was going down the wrong mindset and having that ability to just flip the switch and go into that training session or into the next round with the right mindset, that I was ready to learn and be awesome, but not just be in the ring and be their punching bag.
Cool. All right. So lots of ways we could do it, but these three things here, just something to really think about when you're training and you're stepping into the ring and you're going in there, on not being that punching bag, like not just taking, the hits, like, don't just take it, like, having the confidence to stay in there and keep the fight going. You might not always win, but hell, go down fighting, like go down, like knowing that you went right through to the end, because the 2 minutes, 3 minutes, however long your rounds are, they're going to go by anyway. So would you rather have them go by knowing that you pushed through, fought till the end, or did you, deep down, yeah, I really just kind of like gave up there. Yeah. So, physical presence, fix your belt, fix your dobok, fix your clothes, watch how you're standing.
Yeah. Fix your stance.
Fix your stance. Look presentable. Get your chin up, eyes up, and be confident.
That helps you get into the right mindset, right? So fix your physical presence to help get your mind right.
That's right. Go against more challenging opponents, being able to actually step in there, go against more challenging people and push yourself, get yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and recognize what opportunity lies ahead of you in that opponent.
More practice. Get to class more regularly, or if the option is available for you, you have the means to, you have the time to do some private lessons, do one-on-ones, get, whether you're working physically or on that mental game, have somebody there with you, so you can take those one-on-ones and get that personalized attention for you. There you have it. Anyway, guys, if you did find any value out of this, please share this episode, leave us a review, leave us a comment. If you found value out of this, or you know somebody that could get value out of this, please share it with them. My name is Josh Newland. This is Nicole Stratajek, and you've been listening to Off the Mat.
Bye, guys.